In this course, I use Adobe Photoshop Creative Cloud. Adobe does update the software occasionally, which can lead to slightly different options for some tools or techniques, although many of the most commonly used panels and tools are the same as or similar to earlier versions of Creative Cloud. If you notice something that is slightly different, feel free to message me here on Udemy so I can take a look and possibly update that part of the lesson if needed. However, some students might think it's a different version when it's simply a matter of a different color scheme, for example, in the workspace. So you don't need to follow along just yet. I just want to show how to change the color scheme of the interface really quickly. If I go to Edit and then Preferences and then Interface, I can adjust the color of the interface here. Some people prefer a darker interface, while others prefer a lighter interface. Different levels of brightness can help the content stand out better, but it's also just personal preference, and that doesn't indicate a different version of Photoshop. On the Mac, you would click the name Adobe Photoshop in the top left corner, and then Preferences, then Interface. The location for access to the Preferences menu is one of the few differences between the PC and the Mac. The other primary difference involves the keyboard shortcuts, which I explained throughout the course. For example, when we press Control on the PC, we press Command on the Mac, and when we press Alt on the PC, it's Option on the Mac. For example, if I want to zoom in on this photo I took during one of my study abroad trips to Italy where I teach photography, we would press Control on the PC, but Command on the Mac, plus the plus key on the keyboard. So Control or Command plus will let us zoom in, and of course it pixelates because this is a raster image, it's made up of pixels. And if we press Control on the PC or Command on the Mac and minus key, which is right next to the plus key, that will let us zoom out. I use both a Mac and a PC, both at my full-time job and as a freelancer, and it helps to consider this difference until it becomes second nature. But the interface and workspace should look pretty much the same regardless of whether we use a PC or a Mac, unless you have customized the workspace already. If that is the case, you can click here in the top right corner and select Essentials. I'll bring this over a little bit so we can see it better. Right here, Essentials. And if it needs to be a reset, I can click that and go to Reset Essentials to the default. And we can click these double arrows if we want to not have all of those panels expanded out. Again, message me if you might have noticed something slightly different in a menu or tool, or post in the Q&A any questions. Sometimes Adobe changes really small things like what the menu looks like and what presets are included when we go to File, New. For example, currently we have some presets for photos, like specific photo sizes as far as landscapes, so we can click View All Presets and see all these presets here. These are commonly used sizes. And we also have print. So in the US, letter and legal are pretty standard as far as using inches as well. We also have art and illustration, for example, for a poster or a postcard. And we have presets for the web, mobile, so different mobile devices and preset dimensions as far as width and height using pixels for that area, and film or video, so high definition presets and so on. We can adjust something like the units of measurement up on the Preferences panel again, and we can go to Units and Rulers, and from there we can switch it from inches or picas, which are more for a print context generally, and we can select pixels, for example, if we want the rulers up here to show pixels. We can also set type to pixels, especially if we're designing for the screen. And these presets here, as far as 300 pixels per inch, PPI, that is pretty standard for print, but there are some commercial printers that will accept, for example, 150 pixels per inch. We just have more pixels and therefore more detail within each inch if we have a higher number such as 300, and 72 is pretty standard for screen design, like on mobile or on websites. So for the most part, at least, your workspace and tools should look the same unless you have an older version of Photoshop, in which case it still shouldn't look that different. If there is a recent update that has changed a menu, of course I can go in and update the course if needed. Thanks, and I'll look forward to seeing your designs and retouching projects in Photoshop.